Samach Vav on the base, over the bottom of the page. About seven lines from the bottom of the page, and we're just a little bit of review. The question of the Gemara was Mili, and the Gemara's resolution was Omer Amru. What exactly does that mean? So it said Mili was sort of a responsibility, not specific, implied that the shliach had, but not specifically designated. So, for example, if you say give a divorce, if a guy says give a divorce to my wife, the implied authority is that he has the authority to write it, but he didn't specifically give it to him. And therefore, that's called Mili, and Mili lemim shliach, he does not have the ability to give over that authority to somebody else. Let's say a scribe to write it. The Gemara wants to say perhaps Omer Amru is different. So a typical shlichus involves an object, not just a command. But it could be that for example, giving over a divorce is an object. Do something with this. But it could be that Omer Amru, even if you specifically specified, go make a shliach to write a divorce. So the Gemara says perhaps it's not considered Mili anymore, and perhaps it is. So the Gemara suggests that if a guy specifically makes a shliach to have a scribe write a divorce, that is in the category of Omer Amru, and that type of that shlichus works. So the guy is able to appoint. He has the authority to appoint a scribe to write the document. Second. Okay, so we're at Umi Ma'adir Rabbi Yossi Omer Amru. This next Gemara is just the next couple of lines. I may stumble over myself here. A little bit difficult. Okay, does Rabbi Yossi agree that Omer Amru is not in the category of Mili? In other words, Omer Amru is a valid shlichus. Omer Amru again is where you tell somebody to appoint a scribe to write the document. Vatanan as follows. So one of the things we've seen in this parak, and we'll see it again later in the Masechta, is that the get has to be written according to the instruction of the husband. And okay, Vatanan we see, the Mishnah says, Ksav Sefer Ve'ed Kosher. If the scribe writes a document and a witness signs it, it's kosher. Rabbi Yomi says, Chasam Sefer Shenino. We're talking about the signature of the scribe. Okay. So the scribe signs together with the witness. The document is kosher. And this must be according to Rabbi Yossi that says there's no such thing as Mili. Okay, well, let's explain it. The concern here is that the divorce potentially was not written in accordance with the instruction of the husband. Why? The husband says to somebody, go give a divorce, and he tells two people and sign it. And they tell a sefer, a scribe, to sign it, to write the document. Now, they don't want to insult him, and if they tell him not to sign it, then it appears that they don't trust him. So the concern here is that maybe they told the scribe to sign it, even though he never had the right to. He never had the authority to sign it. He wasn't appointed as a witness. Now, if we say Mili lemim shliach, even Omer Amru, meaning that you can never appoint a shliach to tell him to tell a scribe to write a divorce. So then the only time a scribe could write a divorce is where the husband specifically talks directly to the scribe. The husband's talking to the scribe. That's the only scenario where the scribe would sign it, and therefore such a divorce is valid. Are we together on that? However, if Omer Amru works, which means that the husband could tell two people, you sign the document and appoint the scribe to write it. So now we should be concerned Maybe the scribe is signing without permission, without authority. The husband never appointed him as an aide, as a witness. The reason why he ended up signing is because the witnesses were too embarrassed to tell him otherwise. Okay, okay, so before we get, just a moment, before we continue. Okay, so let's just review this again. The Mishnah says, Ksav Cipher, the writing of a scribe. What does it mean? What did he write? So Rabbi Yomi explains he wrote his signature. He also wrote the document, but that's not the important part. The important part was that he signed it. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yomi, and Rav Chizda says that must be according to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi again does not agree to the concept of mili, and the Gemara meaning that the Gemara interprets that to mean that not only does mili not work, but Aymer Amr doesn't work either. The Gemara will explain. If they'll tell me that Rabbi Yossi agrees that Aymer Amr works, meaning that a scribe does not need to be appointed directly by the husband, he could also be appointed by a messenger who claims to have authority from the husband. There's a potential disaster here. He may have told the scribe, he may have told the witnesses, appoint a scribe and sign the document. Because they're sort of embarrassed from having to tell the scribe not to sign, they don't tell him, and therefore the scribe ends up signing together with one of those witnesses. The husband didn't say that, and therefore the divorce should not be valid.
But can the husband prescribe the witnesses? I mean, obviously from this, it looks like he can prescribe the witnesses.
Not only could, he must. The husband must appoint the witnesses. Now, obviously, he could say, anyone, he could appoint anyone too. That's also valid, any kosher witness. But he does. It is his responsibility to appoint those witnesses. Okay. Says the Gemara, "Kivin the Amar Mara kosher v'lo sasakein." Okay, so in other words, what's the potential if the scribe signs together with a single witness? The concern is maybe the husband appointed actually two witnesses and told them to tell a scribe to write it, and they were embarrassed. Says the Gemara, that is a possibility. It is a possibility that this is what happened. However, it is forbidden to do so. You're not allowed. The rabbis forbade you from appointing two witnesses and telling them to tell a scribe to write the document. Because they forbade you from doing it, it's unlikely that such a thing would have happened, and therefore we don't decree that if such a divorce comes to pass, that we presume this is what happened, since such a thing would be forbidden. We together? So, okay. One second. Okay. So the Gemara's first question, I misspoke slightly. The Gemara's first question was the scenario where he told two people, hire a scribe, and I want these two people to sign. It wasn't the two people that he was speaking to. Appoint another two people. So in other words, I'm giving you a responsibility here to appoint a scribe and appoint these two witnesses, Reuven and Shimon. The Gemara says, what happens if the scenario is slightly different? And we'll soon see that it does make a difference. Maybe he told two people, get a scribe to write it, and you two people that he was talking to, Chasum will sign it. And they'll be embarrassed to the scribe, because the scribe, they don't want to sort of hint to the scribe that he's not kosher as a witness, or that the husband doesn't want him as a witness, and therefore they'll ask him to sign. And they'll sign him together with one of the other witnesses. If the husband never said that, never approved that.
Now, would it be okay if both of them signed with a sefer? So you have three signatures.
No. The sefer would have to have specific permission to sign. Okay. Again, so the first question the Gemara was, we appointed two people to appoint a sefer and appoint two scribes. Now he's saying, appoint a sefer and you two be the scribes. I'm sorry, you two be the witnesses. Okay. So the Gemara says, Amri hanami kosher v'leisasa. So the Gemara says that also is not acceptable. If you did it, it's fine, it's kosher, but you shouldn't be doing it. In other words, you should not be telling people to appoint a scribe and then they themselves should sign it. Okay, so the Gemara says, okay, that's all true if it is the case that you shouldn't be doing it. But according to the opinion says that it's kosher and you are permitted to do this, then you don't have a resolution. Okay. In other words, because we're back to the original question. When we see a sefer signing together with a witness, why aren't we concerned that he told two people, you sign the document and have a sefer write it for you, and they actually had a sefer signed together with one of them? Therefore, the document is not kosher, and it is permissible to have a document ordered according to that prescription. Gemara says, "Ela Rabbi Yosi Tarti Amar Shmuel Savar Lakav Say B'Chada Upol Gala B'Chada." 1 second. Okay. Ela Rabbi Yosi Tarti Amar. We're on about 8 to 10 lines. 8 to 10 lines from 67a. First one line is Tarti.
8-7 from the top of the bottom.
From the top of the page.
And the first word is
Tarti.
Say what?
Tarti.
67a, did you say?
67a. Yeah.
Tarti.
Tarti. As in two. Little Aleph. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Second. Okay. So Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi Tarti Amar Shmuel Savar Kapasei Lechoda Polga Labachoda. Okay, Rabbi Yossi basically said two different things. He said, number one, that Mili doesn't work, and number two, that Amr doesn't work. And Shmuel agrees with him in one scenario and disagrees with him in the other scenario. So, okay, and this price is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, and Shmuel disagrees with that. Okay. So Gemara says Gufa. This is a new Gemara. All right. Amar Shmuel, Amar Rabbi, halacha Rabbi Yossi. Shmuel says in there, if Rabbi the halacha follows Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Mili lemimster l'shliach. That if the guy has an implied authority, he can't transfer that to somebody else. Amar lefan of Reb Shimon Rabbi. Reb Shimon, the son of Rabbi, says, "Me'achashar Meir v'Chananya ish Aina cholken al Rabbi Yossi." Since Reb Meir and Chanina from the town of Aina disagree with Rabbi Yossi, Ma Rabbi Leimer halacha Rabbi Yossi. Why did Rabbi think the halacha should be like Rabbi Yossi? Amar lo yishtaik ben yishtaik. So he wasn't impressed with the question. One second. So Rabbi tells his son Reb Shimon, be silent. Le're'isa es Rabbi Yossi. You never met Rabbi Yossi. If had you seen him, nimuka ima, you would have understood that anything he says, the reason is with him. I.e., he has very good reasoning. The Tanya, this is a short Masechta called Avester of Nelson, and this is what it says in it. Isi ben Yehudah hayamayna shvachan shachacham. Isi ben Yehudah would praise each scholar. Reb Meir chacham v'sefer. Reb Meir was wise, and he was also a scribe. Rabbi Yehudah chacham l'kashiyertza. This is a very interesting compliment. He's wise when he wants to be. In other words, when he puts his head to something, he's very wise. Reb Tarfon gal shalagoyzim. Reb Tarfon is a pile of nuts. What happens is when you pull one from the bottom, they all sort of collapse. So Reb Tarfon knew so much that at any time you ask him a question, he would bring you from it all the different components of Torah. He would answer the question. Rabbi Shmuel Chanus, and not only would he come from everywhere, they would all be tied together. They'd all be integrated. Rabbi Shmuel Chanus miyuzenes. Rabbi Shmuel was sort of like a peddler, where every item was tied separately. So he also was able to bring from everything, but it wasn't as integrated. Rabbi Kiva Oitzer Blum. Rabbi Kiva was a stocked warehouse. Yeah, and also he would teach. He sort of knew everything. And it was all sort of like in a warehouse, in the right place. Rabbi Yechim Enuri, Kupas Reichlin. Rabbi Yechim Enuri is like a peddler's cart. Rashi says also it means similar to the Chanus Miyuzen, similar to the store, the cart. One second, hold on. I'm sorry. Take it back. Sorry. Chanus Miyuzenes means that the wine was on tap. He didn't wait to answer you. He knew the answer right away. And Kubas Hareichlin is sort of we were all organized in a peddler's cart. Rabbi Lozer ben Azariah, Kupa Shal B'Samim. Rabbi Lozer ben Azariah says it was like a Kupa Shal B'Samim, like a peddler who sold perfumes or spices. Rashi says the difference between a peddler's cart and the cart of a spice merchant is that the peddler's cart has much more items and they're much better organized. Mishnah's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Kavanaki. The Mishnah of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, it's a certain measurement and it's clean. There's nothing that's not good about it. Rabbi Yossi Nimuka Yomei. Rabbi Yossi, whenever he says, the logic supports him. Rabbi Shimon Toichen Harbe. Rabbi Shimon grinds a lot. Umaitzi Kima, and he forgets a very small amount. Tana, we learned Mashtach Kima, he would forget a small amount. Umashamaitzi, and that he would forget Einamaitzi El Subin. He would only forget the parts of the portions of Torah that were corrupted over the years. So it was inaccurate anyway. Those are the things that he forgot. Shimon told the students, learn my, follow my traits. Rabbi Kiva. because my behavior is similar to that of Rabbi Kiva. And again, this is I believe this is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the students of Rabbi Kiva, one of the 5 remaining students. Okay, Gufa. Let's go to the original Brisa. We go back to the Brisa. He told his cipher to write, and he told specific people to sign. See, he told the cipher, he told the 2 witnesses. He told 2 people, not witnesses. He told 2 people, you write, you arrange it to be written, and have Reuven and Shimon sign it. Amar Ravuna Amar Rav kosher v'leisas says Yisrael. Ravuna says the name of Rav, it's kosher, but you shouldn't be doing it. 1 second. Okay. Gemara wants to know why. Amar like Ula Rav Nachman. So Ula asked Rav Nachman, Amri Rav Nachman Ula, and some say Rav Nachman asked Ula, me achar the kosher. If it's kosher, so what's the problem? He said to him, Chashinan Shema Tiskar Adam. We're concerned, maybe she will hire witnesses. We'll explain in a moment. Just hold on for a second. Is there a concern that people that somebody's going to hire witnesses? If there are witnesses that are signed on the sale of a field or a divorce, we're not concerned they're fake witnesses. We're not concerned at any point the woman who's going to want to be divorced will hire false witnesses. So Gemara says, "Ma'aseh Avdi dibura ka'amrei." Witnesses won't go ahead and sign false testimony, but what they will do is the concern over here is the woman's going to hire 2 people that are not witnesses. They're not being hired to do witnesses. They're being hired to hire other people to be witnesses and another person to write the documents. So therefore, that we are concerned about. Therefore, we are concerned. For a guy himself to forge a document, he wouldn't do. But for a guy to claim authority, the husband's that somebody else could forge the document, somebody else could sign it, that he might do. And therefore, that's why we don't allow this to be done. Okay, Amr l'shnayim, he told 2 people, Imr l'sefer v'yachlev v'atem chsumu. Go tell 2 people to write the document, and you sign it. Rav Chizda Amar kosher v'yitasa. Rav Chizda says that again, this is where he told them to sign the document, but they can hire a scribe to write it. Rav Chizda says, don't do it. Rabbi Chana Amar kosher. Rabbi Chana says you could do it. The tasa, it's kosher and you could do it. Rav Nachman Amar kosher v'yitasa. Rav Nachman says you shouldn't do it, but it is kosher. Rav Sheshes Amar kosher v'tasa. It's kosher and you can do it. Rabbi Amar kosher v'yitasa. Basically Amar kosher v'tasa. Rabbi says don't do it. Rabbi says you could do it. The ikka, the apachlo, and some switch around the whole brisa and have everybody in the reverse category. So, for example, Rav Yosef would say not to do it, and Rabbi would say that you can do it. Okay, if you can't, what would be the potential reason why you shouldn't be doing it? The same reason as before. In other words, we're concerned that a woman might hire witnesses to hire people to forge a document for her. Now, even though technically speaking, the woman the people have to be told directly. But we decree one because of the other, and we don't want. In other words, the husband has to appoint the witnesses, must appoint the scribe, and nobody else. Okay. Omer la'asar kisfuget. He told 10 people write a document. Toner rabbanon. Omer la'asar kisfuget uchnu le'ishti. He told 10 people write a divorce and give it to my wife. Echad kaisef b'mayim. Kulam, one of them writes, and all of them watch him write it. Halichu get le'ishti. Carry it. They can't all carry one document. So what do? They all accompany him to carry the divorce. Let's say he says, Kulcham halichu. I'm sorry, one second. Sorry. If he says, one second. Let's skip the line. Again, let's start the Gemara again. Second line. He told 10 people, write a divorce and give it to my wife. They all write it. One writes it for all of them. Kulchem ksuvu. If he says all of you have to write. Echad kaisav v'maimed kulam. Kulchem means everybody, full inclusive. So you need everyone to participate. So then, everybody has to participate and bring the divorce. Similarly, he says, Halichu get lishti, tells 10 people, carry the divorce to my wife. One of them carries for everybody else. Halichu, I'm sorry, 1 second. Kulcham halichu, everybody has to carry the divorce. So they all have to accompany him to carry the divorce. Question. Mona Eisen, he starts counting them. So there's 10 people there. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go ahead and carry the divorce to my wife. What does it mean the fact that he counted them? Does it mean all 7, or does it mean any one of the 10? Rav Huna Amar Mona Einek Kulcham. Rav Huna says it's different. It's a different set of laws. Rabbi Yechon Mishum Rabbi min Ruma, Rabbi Elazar of Rome says Mona Harehi Kulcham. If he counted them, it's as if he said everybody. Okay. Amra Papa says it does. They don't disagree. Hadamana Kulu Hadamana Mixasayu. Depends how many counted. If he counted all of them, or if he counted part of them. Amnul Lahagis of Amnul Lahagis. This is always the best line of the Gemara, and it goes in either direction. So let's explain. Okay, according to the first version of the Gemara, if he counts everybody, right? So we say Mona, you counted everybody. It's just like Kulcham. It's just like in count because he counted everybody. Counted everybody, but if you only counted some of the people, then it doesn't have to be everybody. It could be any two. Presumably, you didn't count everybody. It doesn't mean to say everybody. The other version is the opposite. Hold on a second. No, if you counted everybody, that's the same as saying nothing, because you just counted the amount of people that were present, and therefore we say that if you counted everybody, it's not like you said Kulcham, and any one of them can carry the divorce on behalf of everybody else. They don't have to be present. However, if you counted 7 of them, then we say 7 is like doing Kulcham, or 6 or 5 or 4. Because you counted a couple of them, so then you want that specific group to be the ones to as a group to carry the divorce for you, and all of them must participate. And that would be the second version of the Gemara, which obviously these two versions are clearly contradictory. Okay. You have an interesting story here. Whenever there were 10 people and you wanted to appoint them a shliach, so Rabbi Yehudah had this very long terminology he wanted you to use to make sure it's absolutely clear that basically anyone can do anything. There's no limitation that everyone must participate. Okay. Iskin Rabbi Yehudah Begita, Rabbi Yehudah decreed with regard to divorces, the kulchem ksuhu, like when he says all of you write a divorce, he would make them write oy kulchan, either or of you, oy kolchad v'chad minchan, or all of you. 1 second. Or any of you, I'm sorry. Kasumu, sign it. I kolchan, or all of you. I kol trei minchan, or any 2 of you. I vilu, carry it. I kolchan, or all of you. I kol chad v'chad minchan, or any one of you. Okay. So in other words, Rabbi Yehudah is making it very clear, either everybody or anybody, effectively, or any 2 in case of witnesses. In 3 categories: ksuvu, chsumu, avilu. Write, sign, carry. Rava says this is way too complicated. Zimin the guys like dibure. He's going to remember this. It's just too many words. Let's make it simpler. If Amar kolchan, he might say kolchan. Amar kolchan, he might forget to do the second part. V'asel sule will come to invalidate a document because he won't have all 10 people. Amar Rava says no. Make it very simple. Suvu kolchan minchayin, chsumu kol trei minchayin, avilu kolchan minchayin. Either again, write, sign, or carry any one of you, or in the case of a witness signing, any 2 of you. So don't write the whole thing that anyone could do it. It's just too complicated. Just write anybody is able to participate. Okay, and now we get to a very, very interesting set of Gemaras. Today we'll cure you, and tomorrow the demons come. Quite literally. Well, it's going to be Shabbos. We'll be well protected.
What's that?
Yeah, tomorrow's Shabbos will be well protected from the demons that come.
Oh, good. My wife, I love to be able to share those kinds of stories with my wife. It's something above and beyond the normal fare that most civilians aren't interested in.
Yeah, no problem. Anyway, this is serious stuff. Okay, let's cure you now first. Misha also cordicus. Somebody who has an illness called a cordicus. We'll soon see how you get this illness called cordicus. Cordicus actually is the name of a demon. If you engage in certain types of behaviors, this demon will occupy you. Okay, but anyway, it makes you cordicus is the equivalent of a seizure. It's someone who's clearly having a maybe Charles gives the exact word. It sounds like a schizophrenic episode, but maybe there's a better word for it. Feel free, Charles, to chime in. Okay, for Amar Kisfugel Ishti, he says, write a divorce to my wife. Lo Amar Klum. He didn't say anything. Obviously, we don't take him seriously because he's having a delirious episode. Amar Kisfugel Ishti. If a guy says, write a divorce for my wife, and then he got this delirium, and then he says, don't write it, his last words don't mean anything. Obviously, there's no way to change his mind. If he became a mute, they said to him, you want to write a divorce for his wife? He nodded his head. You check him 3 times. If he says, 1 second. So we need to know that when he nods his head like this, he means yes, and he goes like this, he means no. You have to check this 3 times. You ask him 3 obvious questions. Is 1 + 1 2? And if he nods his head in the yes motion 3 times, or another 2 other obvious questions, then you know that this means yes. And then you ask him, do you want us to write a divorce to your wife? And he says yes, and you're good. And the same thing is with the no notion. You ask him a question where the answer is obviously no, and then he nods his head in the other direction 3 ways, and then you know that he can hear you and he's communicating with you even if he can't speak. Okay. And then you can write the divorce and give it to his wife. My krodaikus. What is krodaikus? Amar Shmuel, dinachti chamer chata dematzarta. If a guy drinks fresh wine from the press, then he gets this delirium, which is the demon of krodaikus. But listening mishnashlo yayin chadash. So let the Mishnah specifically say how it happened. Somebody who bites, somebody who was bitten, who was caught a delirium from drinking fresh wine. So Gemara says, Hakamash Malon. The Mishnah is coming to tell me the harucha, the name of this spirit that occupies you, krodaikus shma. Its name is krodaikus. What's the difference? To writing an amulet to cure. You need to know the name of the demon that occupies the person to write a correct type of amulet. That's called a kameya. Mayas, you see, what's the cure to this illness? Bisro sumka, red meat, which typically means it's lean. Agumre, on coals, cooked, grilled. The chamra marka, and wine that's been dissolved. So this is what do they call it? Diluted. There we are. Ours was a different translation, which I don't like. Diluted wine. Omar Abaya. So Abaya says, Omar li Eim. My mother told me. Okay, you have to remember, Abaya throughout Talmud is always bringing formulas from his mother. Apparently, his mother knew how to cure everybody. I'm not exactly sure what the depth over here was, what the sort of relationship was. I believe Abaya lost his father early, but his mother had all these cures. So here's a couple of them. L'shimsha. This is for sun. Presumably, this means a heat stroke. Basiyam, if it's 1 day old, kuza de maya, glass of water. Nobody ever heard of that one, right? Trey yomi, if it's 2 days long. So what do you need to do? Sikure. You need to let blood. What do they call this? Bloodletting with a horn.
Yeah.
Bas tilsa yomi, if it's 3 days old. Bisra sumka agomri. Red meat, meaning lean meat, agumri on coals, the chamer maraka, and dissolved wine. The shimsha atikta, if it's going on for a long time, he has a problem with heat stroke. Lacy tarnagolta uchmasi, take I believe it's a black bird, right? A black hen. With a kara shesiv erev, and then tear it up vertically and horizontally, rip it open. And shave the middle of this ill person's heads. And put the chicken on top of him. So you put it to his head until it sort of dries a little bit, it becomes sticky and it sticks to his head. Okay, and then when the chicken's on his head, he goes down into a swimming pool, whatever, cistern, or any type of pool. Ad savari, until his neck, ad cholosh, until he becomes weak. Ad cholosh al meluya, until he feels heavy. And then what does do? V'limud, he swims. V'lisalik v'leisev, he gets out of the pool and he sits down and rests. V'ilai, if this doesn't work, or maybe because it's too difficult for him to do. So what should he do? Leichel karte. He should take leek, v'linchos v'leikem b'maya ad safari ad dechol shalma. So he eats these leeks. He goes down into the swimming pool until he feels heavy. Then v'limud v'lisik v'leisiv, and he gets out of the pool. He swims. He gets out and he rests, and then that will heal him. Okay, the Gemara now has a different cure l'shem shah for heat stroke, which is bisra sumka agumrei v'chamra marka. So Abaye quoted the recipe was for lean meat on coals and red wine, meaning cooked lean meat. The talga, what happens if it's cold? Hypothermia. So what do you need to do? Bisra shmeina agumrei. This is fat meat on coals, cooked, grilled actually. V'chamra chaya, and fresh wine that has not been diluted. Rav Amram Chasida, Rav Amram the great Chassid, some interesting stories about him in Shas and Talmud. When the people of the Reish Galusa will soon see that these people were seriously, these people were suspect on murder. These are the people that lived in the Reish Galusa. The Reish Galusa was an exilarch until Rebbe's time. He was also a great scholar. After that, it was separated, two separate positions. And sometimes these people were great people, but very often their houses were corrupt, as you might expect. As they say, what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. A lot of corruption. We'll soon see. Crazy story. They tried killing Rav Sheshes multiple times in one meeting. Okay. Anyway, they tried giving everyone a hard time. So they gave Rav Amram Chasida a very hard time, and one day they made him sleep in the snow. Lamachar in the morning, they sort of asked him. These people obviously were a bunch of tricksters. So they asked him, what could we do to help you? Unfortunately, he had to sleep in the snow. Obviously, they arranged that he had to sleep in the snow. What can we do to cure you? So he said, Whatever I tell them, they're gonna pretend to forget and bring the opposite of what I tell them. So Amar Lahus, he said to him, I would like lean meat on the grill and dissolved wine. And of course, they forgot and brought him the opposite. And they brought red meat, fat meat, and fat meat on grilled fat meat, and fresh wine, which is perfect for him to cure him. Shama Yalsa. Yalsa is the wife of Nachman. Very, very interesting character. Again, comes up multiple times across Talmud. The wife of Rav Nachman. She was also extremely well connected. She was the daughter of the Reish Galusa, of the exilarch. She wasn't particularly thrilled with what the house of her father was doing, the way they were treating her, the great chassid, Rav Amram. So what she do? So she brought him to a bathtub. She put him in the water of the bathhouse. Until the wine, his sort of body leached out this meat that he was eating and turned red. The kari bisra shite pashat, and his skin had in it like spots, like smooth areas, blotches, where the sort of the fat that he had consumed was being drawn out of his body. One second. Yeah, and again, this is I'm not no medical expert. I don't know if this thing works today or not. I do know that there are some cultures that do believe that sort of the bathhouse ritual sort of leaches out all the poisons from the body. I don't know if it's something similar or not. I have no clue.
Our weather here was defined for that.
Oh, okay. Rav Yosef Yasi Berechi. Rav Sheshes Yasi B'Shur. When Rav Yosef was cold, he would turn the millstone to heat himself up. Rav Sheshes Yasi B'Shur. Rav Sheshes would carry beams. Amar, they both said, Gedola Malacha Shemechamemes is Balal. Work is a great thing. It heats you up and it protects you from being cold. Amar le Reish Galusa. Okay, we'll start the first story. Okay. Yeah, a few minutes. Okay. So Amar le Reish Galusa Rav Sheshes. The exilarch asked Rav Sheshes, my time Sad Margabon, how come you don't eat by me? I don't trust your slaves. Not only do they serve non-kosher meat, they serve with non-kosher meat that's forbidden for a non-Jew. It's aver menachai. It's limbs from a live animal. So obviously, as Jared cringed, the Reish Galusa probably also did. He didn't believe him. You think so? I'll show you. This is how you do it. he says to his servant, they're preparing an animal now. I'd like you to steal one of the organs of the animal. So sure enough, they were dealing with a wild animal. It was presumably it was a deer or something, and they stole one of the feet. So they started serving him the meat. I'd like to see how this meat is how you prepared it. I want to see which part of the animal you've given me. So they brought out three feet, but the fourth one was missing, and they didn't realize it was missing because they didn't realize it was stolen from them. So what did they do? I see you become did you have a three-legged deer? So what happened? He said, no, we'll get the other piece. So sure enough, what they do, they went to the backyard, they quickly hacked off a leg of the deer, and they brought it in to show him there's 4 feet. I see so he told his servant, I see go put yours on the table. So he took his that was underneath the table or in a bag or something, and he put it on the table. So he says to them, did it have 5 feet? So the Reish Galusa clearly recognized that these people are completely untrustworthy. So he says, look, your slave is so intelligent, he knows how to do the right thing and how to trick them. Let him work for me. This way you'll be able to eat. So he made an agreement. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue with the multiple attempts on Rish Lakish's life in the next visit.
Expert opinion, by the way. I go to delirium.
Delirium. Okay, yeah. It's interesting that I have.
So